All right, so imagine this. You're a car lover like myself. But you also like the idea of someday starting a family. And then you finally get to own the dream Subaru WRX STI that you all have always lusted after. But next thing you know, you have a kid on the way, or you're probably working on baby number 2. So if you're in this situation, do you have to give up your identity, your whole pride and joy for a Toyota Sienna? Or can you actually live the best of both worlds with this rally-bred 300 horsepower all-wheel drive family sedan? So my name is Nate. My wife and I recently just had a 1-month-old. We also have our 5-year-old son. And I want to tell you exactly what it's been like using this as a family hauler. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so let's get right into it. Rather than wasting your guys' time rambling for the next 30 minutes beating around the bush, let me tell you right away that this car actually functions really well as a family hauler. Now let's start first with the obvious, and something that everyone has kind of been mentioning. For this car, you actually have a surprisingly large amount of trunk space. You know, especially as a sedan and maybe one of the largest in its segment. You know, I was just surprised when actually using this car. You know, not only can I fit my stroller in here, I can fit my son's bike. Was able to fit 2 infant car seats with the base. Still able to stow away my son's car seat when it's not in use. And then back when my wife was pregnant, was able to pack the entire trunk with a bunch of coolers, foods for our baby shower. You know, you can do your Sam's Club or Costco runs, so you can fit your bulk groceries, all the formulas, boxes of baby diapers and wipes that you're gonna end up needing. And then also as a performance sedan, this thing is far from compromised, if not even has more space compared to most modern vehicles out there. You know, yes, it doesn't have, you know, the full practicality of a hatchback or crossover SUV. But you know, if you're like me and you have a smaller family and you don't regularly lug $600 worth of Costco bulk, this thing can 100% do the job. Not only do you have that massive trunk space, but obviously, yes, it has 4 doors. You know, you can't really family a 2-seater or even a 2+2 might be a stretch. But what I realized when comparing this car to my wife's 2020 Civic, even my brother's 2017 Civic hatchback, is how spacious this car actually is on the inside. You know, in this car, you have a massive door opening and also a tall roofline, and what that translates to is how easy you can swing a car seat into its base. You know, with the tall roofline, the 90-degree opening, you know, I don't really have to angle this car seat in an awkward way in order to fit it in. And then when comparing to other modern compact or regular sedans, sitting inside, you don't feel so cramped, or it's not so dark or claustrophobic when you're in it. You see, for me, I'm a very tall, 5'9", long in the legs individual. And then with my seat in its driving position, my son's rear-facing seat fits nearly perfect inside the car. And then again, when removing the seat from the base, I don't have to kind of tilt or angle it in an awkward way that'll like wake or piss the baby off. And then bonus point 2, not only do you have a lot of space in the trunk or getting inside the car, but unlike other performance sedans, Civic Type R, you know, you don't have that stupid cup holder in the middle seat. You know, you actually have a fully functioning middle seat with seat belts, cup holders on the door pockets, and also a fold down armrest with cup holders. I never really understood why Honda purposely decided to get rid of that middle seat. You know, maybe it's like a weight savings or some type of structural rigidity since you don't have that seatbelt assembly. But in my opinion, I don't know, track cars don't really need extra cup holders. And then even with the Integra Type S, which is designed to be more of a street car compared to the Type R, same thing, they like purposely remove that middle seat. You know, who knows why? But anyways, just having a middle seat, you know, my wife can sit in the back with a newborn, even having our 5-year-old son on the side with his car seat. You know, it's a bit cramped in there for her, but it is possible. And then I don't know if having something like a Tesla Model Y would be a little bit more comfortable width-wise, or I don't know if I have to get like a full 3-row SUV with captain's chair so she or my 5-year-old son can sit in the back. That way they have more room. So overall, because you know it is just a 5-seater, you probably can't fit 3 car seats in the back of this, actually kind of pushing it in my opinion. And at that point, you'll probably be a little bit more comfortable in a larger SUV with 3 rows of captain's chairs. Then maybe if you can swing it on the side, you'll have your own 2-seater bespoke sports car that you can enjoy for yourself on the weekends. But in summary, with this car or just sedans in general, maybe 2 kids max. You know, unless you have 3 kids that already outgrew their seats, then you can get this car. But for me and my family situation, from my experience, this thing has actually worked really well as a family hauler. You know, so far we didn't really find the absolute need to change out to a 3-row SUV. So probably the most important aspect is the fact that you can fit your family in the car. This thing works, so therefore it stays. And then here's another handy thing I actually learned about this car. You know, dropping off my 5-year-old son to school, you know, imagine you're driving up to that overly congested, highly stressful parking lot at school. You know, you have a bunch of aggressive parents that are probably late to work. You have kids randomly deciding to cross the street. You know, maybe you're trying to hunt for that ultimate parking spot so that way you're not walking 10 minutes to get to the school. You know, this car actually offers, you know, such large visibility, and what that means is, you know, you can kind of easily navigate through highly congested, high traffic areas. It's able to let you find those peak parking spaces. And then with these A-pillar windows, you know, blind spots are nearly eliminated. It lets me see when kids randomly decide to cross the street. And then looking back with its rear view camera and all that visibility, you can easily back this thing into more tighter, cramped parking spaces that larger SUVs feel like they can't fit in. You know, for me, I just get too much anxiety just trying to imagine having to drive like a Jeep Grand Wagoneer up to school. You know, everything just feels so tight and crowded. People are unpredictable. You know, everything just feels so small and hidden when you're in a car like that. Versus something like this, you know, for me, I'm a very mediocre driver. You know, it's just so much easier, stress-free, getting around in a smaller car that you can actually see out of. So, visibility bonus points for this STI. Alright, now probably the most important aspect for me, and should be for you, when carrying precious cargo, you want to feel control of the car. You know, you want that stability in its harshest climates. You know, feel safer when you're driving in unfamiliar, unpredictable areas of town, or you want to be defensive when driving with stupid drivers. You know, this car with its 6-piston Brembos, you know, you can nearly stop on a dime when that car in front of you is tailgating the car ahead and then randomly decides to stomp on their brakes. You know, you can avoid all that drama because, like I said, this thing feels like you're stopping a 100-pound car with how strong the brakes are. And then also this car with its hydraulic steering and relatively lightweight with decent power, you know, it feels so nimble so that way you can easily dodge those distracted drivers glued onto the phone who randomly decide to swerve into your lane. And then, you know, you can easily merge into traffic with your whopping 300 horsepower. And then going back into it, I can't really relate to this, but if you do live in a snowy, more wet climate environment, this car grips insanely well. You have Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive with mechanical LSDs, hydraulic steering, relatively lightweight at 3,400 pounds. This car really prioritizes stability control over absolute raw power. Imagine driving your family in something like a Hellcat and then suddenly it rains. Yes, you can throw snow tires in your front-wheel drive Honda Accord and you'll probably be perfectly fine. But with snow tires in an all-wheel drive system like this, you have that much added safety and reassurance. That fun factor allows you to drive like a rule again, reassurance when you're driving your family overall. And to top that off, the WRX back in 2021 had IHS top safety pick. So for me, this WRX STI offers peak stability, ultimate control, and overall safety when you're transporting your small family. For me, in my situation where I live, Las Vegas, defensive driving is probably absolutely key in getting around. Not only is Vegas #1 rated in chlamydia, but also probably top rated in worst city drivers. And then lastly, and probably the most surprising to me, which may have ultimately been a deal breaker, whenever I'm driving my kid around, he's 1 month old, 6 weeks if I'm being exact, he's always falling asleep when I drive this car. I don't know whether it's that feeling of motion, the drivetrain shock whenever you're shifting gears, the NVH with its low profile tires, large rims, that Subaru Boxer rumble. I don't know if all of that kind of adds to really good white noise that typically puts babies to sleep. No matter how long this trip is, if he's fussy getting into the car, as soon as it starts moving, automatically falls asleep and he stays asleep until we get home, rather than screaming at our ears throughout the whole trip. He loves motion so much that I had to rent a bassinet that automatically rocks him to sleep. And I can't say this will work or it's perfect for every baby out there, but for mine, we got really lucky. Not only does he love sleeping in this, but I just love driving this thing, because whether it's cruising or doing quick grocery runs or errands, I'm still having that experience of when driving, doing the more mundane stuff. And my son absolutely doesn't mind. My 5-year-old son loves this car, and then my 1-month-old doesn't have an issue. He never cries in it. If my kid absolutely could not stand this car, whenever he got into it, he would just be screaming, or if the ride would always just wake him up in the middle of sleep, I don't know if this thing would be possible. I honestly might have had to trade this in for something a little bit more practical, smoother, something like a CX-90 or MDX. But fortunately, for my kid who loves motion, who loves noise, my 5-year-old son loves it, my wife loves it, this car gets to stay. Alright, so there you have it. 5 things I noticed after actually using this as a family hauler with a 1-month and a 5-year-old son. Maybe it's too early and I have so much more to learn as a parent, but until then, for us, my family, this car is nearly just right as a family hauler for the car enthusiasts. You have a massive trunk space, 4 doors with large openings so you can easily swing those car seats in there. Great visibility when you're pulling up to that elementary or whatever school. Peak control, stability, and safety that allows you to effectively be a defensive driver who is also having fun. And then lastly, probably the most surprising, this thing actually puts my newborn to sleep. Am I going to sell this for a Toyota Sienna, like everyone says I'll end up doing, or something that I need to do? Right now, absolutely not. It's October 2024. I want to see how long I can pull this off, so that way I can kind of share my experience with you guys. As long as I take care of this car, it takes care of me, it doesn't leave me and my family stranded in 130-degree Vegas weather. This car gets to stay and I get to raise my family while also keeping my boy racer identity. I've always loved these cars, and then seeing what it's capable of, not only in terms of all-wheel drive, back road, mountain runs, but in terms of a family car, it just makes me so surprised what it can do, and also just really sad thinking about having to trade this in for something like a Hyundai Sante Fe. If people can, haul their family in their Honda Accord, then this thing does basically the same, if not more, in terms of, usability and stability. I want to be that dad where they take a picture when their kids are young, and then 30 years later, when I'm old as shit, we can recreate this photo with 3D AI technology. And it'll just be so cool to see the difference and see how this car is held up over time, how my passion is held up over time. You know, if you're interested in buying these, but at the same time, someday having kids, you know, let me tell you from my personal experience that so far with a 1-month-old and a 5-year-old, it's been 100% doable. You know, if you already have one of these with kids, do you feel like you still have to sell it, or are you going full send with this thing? You know, let me know what you guys think. You know, what else would you pick, or what else is out there as a fun family hauler? You know, like I mentioned earlier, Dodge Hellcat, can't really imagine that in terms of safety. For sure the kids will have tons of fun in it. And if you think I'm being totally irresponsible, naive as a new parent, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it. But yeah, anyways, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. You know, I'll give you an update in the future how this thing has been working. You know, hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned something, and I'll see you guys in the next one.